Alright, this is my build video for my ultimate Maelle Nuke build. Overall, it's just high damage setup build in general with Maelle, Verso, and Sciel. I know a lot of people use Sciel for damage, but I'm actually using this as a port build. So I'm going to go over first the setup I have. For weapon, this one's a very important one. This gives you everybody gets greater rush, but the more important part is Sun abilities is greater slow. And with this build, you're always going to use a Sun ability in the very first turn, so all enemies are going to have greater slow. But you then have a Pictos or Lumina that has damage amplification against greater slow. So that's already setting you up for more damage, slower enemy turns, win-win. Um, so that is the weapon you're definitely going to want on her for as a support build. And so for that's for the weapon. Pictos, I'm just going to go into Lumina wise. Set this to active. We'll go offensive. Not really much for her. She's going to go free aim damage, whatever. And I have a lot of Lumina farmed up. Obviously, you're going to have to make your pick and choose if you don't farm up all these Luminas. I'm going to go over the important ones. So, let's see. I don't think almost any of these are important. Well, I guess for support build, yes, this one is important. She's going to be giving buffs, so you want greater powerful. Whenever she casts a buff, it does give that, at least according to the research, this does apply to the teammates too. So you want greater powerful. Um, then you want longer powerful, obviously, so they last longer. Painted power is obvious. But yeah, so longer powerful, greater powerful are the two very vital ones here in offensive. The other ones, not so much. She's not doing as much damage. They're just, I could easily take this one off probably, but just whatever damage it does take. Um, Defense, obviously, anti-freeze, anti-stun. These are, not necessary for, the total maximum damage. This is just more of, getting ready because I'm trying to prepare for the Simon fight. Base shield, again, defensive mode. She's a healer in this case, a buffer. So I'm trying to make sure she does not die. You see I have 10k HP on her. Defense a little on the lower end, but this is what it is. Enfeebling mark makes the targets do less damage. You're ultimately going to set up mark on every enemy with her. Hopefully in the very first turn, she's setting up the mark. So you definitely want that so that if the enemies do get attacked in, because you couldn't nuke it in the first phase, they will do less damage. So again, important ones here is greater shell. She's going to be applying shell on everybody. Healing boom, very important one. Heal 15% on applying HP. So she's going to be applying a buff with all set. And so that's going to then also heal everybody. So every time you cast all set, you're also healing the full team. Healing death, not important, but just in case she does die, she heals everybody. Longer shell, she's buffing. Healing tents, she's a buffer, good one to have. Recovery is good one to have. This one's good to have for defense, especially in the final fight. Again, support class, healing an ally. You heal yourself, you might as well. And then sweet kill. So that's there you on defensive. For early one, not as much Lumina, you got to get the greater shell, the longer shell. And also this, whatever the one I said, it heals the allies. Yeah. Oh. This one. Okay, so healing boon, greater shell, longer shell. There's your three very vital ones. I'd strongly do recommend defensive move for her. You're not going to have AP problems. I'm going to do a little demo fighting after this talking about this stuff. Support, longer list, obviously. So healing an ally also applies rush. Not as vital. Probably don't even really need that one on, to be honest. Accelerating shots. This is one I think I'm overall depending on. I'm going to go over one that you don't want for shots because I'll show in the video when we get to the combat portion. That one's obviously burning shots. Very clearly need this one because we're going to try to set up burn and mark on the very first phase with her before Maelle gets her nuke in. So that's also not really important, but since she's not focused on damage, might as well get your free break damage. Whatever break damage she adds with her shots, take it. This is very vital for when you're doing your shots. Once you do apply that burn or plan the mark to regenerate AP, this gives her a lot more free aim shots for every time she's doing her shots for each turn. Um, this one, as a support build, you might as well build up Gradient. She is going to really pump up the Gradient meter to you will always have pretty much a full Gradient charge after her turn, um, which is very vital for anything that does survive Maelle's Nuke. That now Maelle can immediately follow it up with the Virtuous Strike to re-switch back to Virtuous Stance. So that's the one thing I've always done with that. Charging Burn, you're going to apply Burn, might as well get the Gradient charges. Again, critical hits. You know, I got decent critical rate with her, so you'll get more Gradient charge. So you're really building up Gradients with her turn also. Again, Gradient charge with hitting a mark target. You know, you're probably going to have to shoot a mark target to get the burn on. I'm going to show what, you know, if I get the mark before burn, I'll ultimately try to shoot and use as much HP as I can to try to get both on every enemy. Again, support class, might as well get the Gradients. Weak points, if they have a weak point, you know, get the Gradient charge. Cheater, if you can afford the points, use this. If not, use the faster than strong. Same thing, just 50% less damage. I've really considered doing this one myself just because she's really not doing the damage, but actually I probably will for the final boss, but you know, if you're not focusing on damage with her, faster than strong is the same thing as cheater. You know, you're not worried about the damage with her, you're worried about the support, and that is 30 points saved to not use cheater there. So I honestly, you know, might switch that out because the only time I ever really care about damage with her is when I'm trying to unlock pictos. And I just, let's say she's the first one, I just free aim everything. But, you know, I pretty much got everything unlocked, so I probably won't be doing that anymore. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. That's going to give me a lot of points. But yeah, so if you farm up a lot of Lumina, which there is a Dansus in Old Lumiere, when you go back there, there's a hidden boss there that summons clones. You can look it up, look up the Lumina farm. You'll find a video about it if it hasn't been nerfed. And you just keep killing clones. If you do it for 1 hour, maybe in I think 45 minutes, I think I did 1,200 Lumina. So if you did it for like an hour and 30, you're going to end up with over 2,000, somewhere around there. So if you know this is farming, it's something how much going to grind. What I'm doing right now is actually grinding. You know, I didn't get enough for what I want to do. I'm trying to really min max. So I'm still farming Lumina. So I don't consider it cheating to use the thing. It's just more time efficient to use that clone method because you overall could go what I'm doing right now and still farm them. It just takes you longer. And because you spent longer farming versus another method doesn't make you a more OP player. Like that's I don't consider that a cheese. I would only consider the clone thing really cheesing if there was no way to farm these and you're literally getting more than you ever would potentially ever be able to have. But that's not the case. Everything's farmable. You know, it's how much effort you put into it. So do the clone thing, get your Luminas, and you can build out this build I'm doing here. Dead energy, not really useful. I'm just put it on there because I can. Double mark, very vital to have. You want to set this up so that Maelle's hits, if you got to do an AoE, has multiple hits. And then also if you need to shoot it, hopefully keep the mark on, and you will have stay marked. Effective support, you know, support class, use the get extra AP. That was AP. Energizing burn, again, AP on applying burn. This is what keeps regenerating your AP as you are shooting with free aim. So this is to hopefully give you a lot of shots in your turn. So you keep all these on you can. This, very important, on healing an ally, also give 2 AP. Remember the other things I showed, when you apply a buff, you're also going to heal them. Well, now this is going to give you AP. Or no, giving them AP. Sorry, I had that a little backwards. So this is now, not only are you giving your teammates buffs, you're giving them AP. So that is extremely vital for support. Like her first turn, she does the energizing all set. All your teammates have max AP now. Very powerful. Gain 2 AP on applying powerful. We have energizing or powerful shots. I think, yes, down below. You will want this equipped. Very vital so that when you do trigger powerful in your free aim shot, you get 2 AP. And this is one of your main things on keeping the AP flowing. And as you notice here, there is no per turn limit. Like that's the one thing I noticed. Like, man, it's just constantly flowing. It's because this procs. Um, so you have that on, and it's just going to keep giving you AP whenever you do proc the powerful, and you can get like 15 shots in a turn if you get really lucky. Energizing shell, same thing on applying shell. So you need the protecting shots, which should. Oh, that did turn that one off. Okay, so that's why I was getting so much more AP. That's the one I'm going to talk about not doing. Um, but yeah, so whenever you do apply shell, um, I am intentionally going to be leaving protecting shots off because I found getting that shell from free aim really throws off the consistency of the setup. So generally, I always shoot until I have 6 AP. I cast all set. The all set giving shell is then going to proc the energizing shell and give you AP, always then giving you at least 6 from that point, which is enough to then cast Fortune's Fury. So having this protecting shots on was proccing the energizing shell, giving more AP, but then once the all set was cast, you didn't get enough AP back to then cast Fortune's Fury. Now you could then shoot the enemies again and proc stuff again on the next turn and then get the AP back, but that's not guaranteed. You're now in an unreliable state. You don't have consistency in the farm. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I decided against that. So energizing starts, these are kind of, not 100% necessary. All right, that's right, they are if you want your first setups to have enough AP for the shot. So yeah, you want to leave some of these. I don't have on currently 2 because you start at 8. Your first proc is going to generate 2 AP. And that's ultimately was just wasting 1. So I was like, it's better to start at 8 than 9 because of the procs giving so much AP. And then first strike, very vital in endgame. You got to have this on everybody, especially for the final boss, because you're just going to be screwed if you do not. Greater powerful, you're giving the 15% damage bonus to everybody, and this is important for the nuke, that this is going to give 15% more damage to Maelle. Greater rush, clearly you want everybody faster. Greater shell, you want everybody more defense. Greater slow. So again, the weapon she's using applies slow to every enemy in the battlefield. This should be applying that same 15% slow to them. So very vital to have that on. Healing boon. Was this under both pages? Because didn't I go over that one already? Heal 15% HP on buff. Very vital. Longer rush, longer powerful. Clearly, those are self-explanatory. You want those on. Marking shots. Vital. You need that to be able to set up the mark. Powerful heal. You also apply powerful. So I think this is not as strongly vital if you're going to kill everything in the first phase, but say you got something that's going to survive, like the final fight, Simon. If he survives, you want to be able to heal somebody and hey, give them a powerful if their powerfuls ran out. Powerful shots, procs the energizing powerful. This is what's generating you that continuous AP during the turn. So very vital. Like this is a must-have on is powerful shots for her. Protecting tent, obviously revive. If you do die, you get to revive immediately. Play immediately. Revive tents, giving some AP. Support stuff. Rewarding mark, dealing 2 AP on dealing a smart target. This is nice if you ended up proccing mark before burn. You then hit that, you get some AP back, at least once per turn. So it gives you a few more shots to hopefully get burn and mark. And you kind of have to play based on how your AP is going on. Is the risk of losing the mark to get the burn worth it? Because you might not get the burn and then you just blew your mark. But it's at least an opportunity there. If it's the very start of your turn, probably is worth it because you get enough shots that you're probably going to get it back on. Shielding tent, obviously as support, gives if you have this one to be able to do extra shields. If you're having to heal somebody, they're probably in a bad state. Give them some shields back. They've obviously lost their shields. And we're going to have stuff to give us more damage on the shields. So weakness gain, if you're not fighting a boss that, something that has a weakness, you might as well take the AP. Stay marked. This is very vital that, when you shoot the mark, hopefully it stays on. Um, Shortcut, if you do get hurt, go to immediately play. And so that covers Ciel. Verso, I am currently using Dualiso. This does not stack with Cheater, so I don't have to use Cheater, saves me some points. But overall, it's just a really good weapon. I know there are other better weapons. I am considering putting Cheater back on and using a different weapon with better damage and better stats. I just haven't figured it out. But overall, this is an easy one that saves you 40 points and not having to put Cheater on him, because the base attack is essentially the same thing as Cheater. And then when you stack in the combo attacks, and base attack is now, extremely devastating. And so I've ultimately got him set up to do a lot of free aims and base attacks. At this point, I'm not even using my abilities. I feel like I do more damage with the free aims, with all the AP generation that happens, than Phantom Stars. However, Endbringer does have increased damage and stun. I think if you do break, which this build is set up to break, this is probably actually worth it then. But yeah, so his build. Offensive, Death Store, obviously, if you get low. Augmented aims, you want the free aim damage is very vital because he's going to do a lot of free aims. Counters, if you get your parries in. Augmented first strike, good for your farming runs, but obviously in a long-term boss, that's not as long-term valuable. Break damage, I say he's going to be really focused on breaking. And so for Simon, I'm going to have my turn order be Sciel, Verso, then Maelle. And so my goal is I'm going to drop the Fortune's Fury on Maelle, but then Verso's going to go before her and unload and get that burn counter up as much as possible. Hopefully leave Mark as the last thing on him. So I'm going to ultimately say if he's about to run out of AP and it's got Mark, skip my turn. Ultimately, I'm trying to get that burn counter up as much as possible and then leave it with Mark after the first base attack and on my second turn. And then we'll set that up for Maelle to come in with the final nuke. That I know for sure this guaranteed first phase assignment is going to take that out one time, but I have not done the fight for second phase yet. And I don't even know if there's a third phase or not. I've only made it to the second phase, and I got wiped out there. So if you haven't fought Simon, I really hope that you don't consider that a spoiler that there's two phases, because come on, it's a crazy fight. If you know what that fight is, you're obviously reading about that, then you probably know at least it's a hard fight. But so if you don't know about Simon, you're probably not at this level trying to do this crazy build anyways. So base attack and break is a nice one if you're doing for breaks, because I have most times my base attack then broke it when I have to get out of shots. Break damage on counterattack, breaking shots, break damage against slowed enemies. I said the enemy's going to be slow due to Ciel's weapon. Burn affinity, increased damage. You're just going to be burning, especially with his attacks. Combo attacks. I got combo attack 3 equipped as the Pictos, 1 and 2. So look up the guides if you don't have all those. The 3 was like from Gesture Arena. 2 was from going back to the Paintress area. That's where they were. Critical break. The break damage on critical hits. And I've got my build. If you look at his critical rate, almost 100%. I think I had 100, but I changed something that made me lose 2%. I'm not worried about that. It's 2%. Come on. Death Bomb, obviously not optional. I'll just throw it up there. Double Burn. He's going to be generating a lot of free aim shots, a lot of burn. So this can really pump up the burn. This is vital for Verso. Powering attack, powerful base attack. Empowering dodge. If you do dodge, if you do parry, both of those do the same thing. You do increasing damage. If you do get exhausted, that's not vital, but if you can. This is vital for the ultimate nuke. So this is why I'm putting Verso before Maelle, so that I can also get Defenceless on the boss. And so then Maelle's now going to have yet another damage multiplier by having Defenceless on the boss. First defensive, not as vital, but obviously can have it, but especially for Maelle, that is vital though. 25% increased damage on full health. Hopefully you're always going to be at full health. Glass cannon, obviously. Big damage dealing. Just if your defense is suffering, you're going to hurt. But especially if you're an expert, just dodge or parry if you can. But I'm hopefully going to just nuke everything in this first hit. Greater defenseless stacks with the exposing attack, so clearly you want that. Very vital. Greater powerful. I did this, with Sciel, you're probably already going to have this, so you can not really consider this, but I more did it if, say you're in a longer fight before I got to these nuke builds and fights actually lasted, and say you lost your powerful, he's going to be putting powerful on himself with the base attacks. So that would then make his own personal powerful also still the 15%. And I'm also not sure if, he does his and he triggers his own powerful without greater powerful. Would it then go to the lesser version? So I just went ahead and put that there to not worry about it, because I would hate if, his own powerful, he basically downgraded his powerful by base attacking. Immaculate, more damage until you're hit, so that's good in your first nuke hits. Inverted Affinity, 50% damage on your first few turns. But I do know this does not, Sciel's healing does not seem to cause damage when you have inverted, so you're fine there. I was worried about that, but does not seem to be applying. It just basically doesn't heal them. So in your first turns, while you have inverted, Sciel cannot heal you with that all set. Painted Power, obviously, is the vital one. Powerful Shield. So there is in media res that gives you 3 shields, but cuts your HP in half. And so if you're ultimately trying to do something that's not the final boss of Simon, then you will probably want to use in media res to get the 3 shields and just get even more damage. But I am preparing overall, getting ready for this, and the shields, they cause problems. Not the shield problems, but the health is a problem. You need help. So I'm going with base shield, which I'll do in the next tab, to have that. And so Roulette, he's doing a lot of free aim. Your odds are better over there because you're doing a lot of multi-hits. I think Roulette is dangerous on single hits because you might get nerfed, and I'm tempted to do it on the final fight for Maelle and just hope that I get the good roll. But if you don't get the good roll, that can really set you up in failure. So I'm really iffy on Maelle. But for him, since a lot of mini hits, I think overall your net damage is going to be better because it's 200% when you get the good roll versus 50% reduction. Your net going to be better off. Shield Affinity, increased damage while having shields. Oh, never mind. You don't want to use the in media res. I thought it was per shield, or maybe there was one also, but I thought for every shield you had, it would boost their damage more. So I guess that's not even the case. So okay, just base shield if you got that one instead. There's no reason to use the other one. First free aim shot, 200% increased damage, and can break. Clearly, he's going to do a lot of free aim shots. You're going to want sniper. Solo fighter, not really necessary. Teamwork, you clearly want that because you're going to do even more free damage. Stun boost. I said we're going to be hitting breaks. We're going to hopefully, break stuff. I mean, outside of Simon maybe, but the extra damage there on any attacks you do during that, clearly you want that. Staggering, you want more break damage. After this, very vital for him, must have. You're going to be free aiming. You're going to be base attacking. Got to have that. Warming up. If you make it more than one, I guess per turn. So base attack, he's going to be basically getting 2 of them per turn. Like you should be proccing first. You're going to base attack, get another one. So now you're at 10%. Kind of question, 5% extra on Maelle. Could you somehow set that up? But yeah, you're not really going to be able to. All right, so that's offensive. Defensive, revival. If you do die, be able to revive with another shield back on. Anti-blight. I just went ahead and put these on. Just stun is my main one. Like I hate stuns, but just to have some kind of defensive things. He's going to do a lot of base attacking. You obviously want life still on. The base shield. This is what gives you your 1 shield. And especially since that you have shield affinity, the 3 shields has no benefit over 1 shield. So yeah, base shield obviously over the in media res. Defensive mode, since he's going to always be high AP, I figure take the 1 AP to take less damage. AP generation is not a problem. You clearly want this. I do not have this on Maelle because that can really screw her if she takes a hit before her turn, and now she doesn't have the AP to do Stendal. So I was like, you know what? Just I can't take that risk. But for him, there ain't no risk. You know, the first shot you're gonna proc something and get all your AP back. No big deal. Um, Base attack applies to powerless, so that's gonna reduce the boss's damage. Marked target still enfeebly marked, so anything's marked. You know, if they do get a turn in before you get your turn, they're hopefully then going to hit you a lot less. So you want that for defensive survivability. Same thing there. You're applying powerless, get the greater with it. You know, and the same thing if you proc a shell to get the shell damage reduction, because I think I got the protecting shots, so that it's going to be triggering shell. So when you do trigger shell, you want your damage reduction. Healing boon. I guess it's going to be also healing yourself as you shoot. So healing death if you do die. You know, everybody healing fire. So as you're hitting burning targets, clearly going to proc. So a lot of heals. And so you will notice I do not have, I don't think it's on this one anyways, but I don't have the confident fighter stuff on. I currently have it on Maelle, but I will be taking that off for the final fight so that I can heal. But yeah, right now I have it on purely for farming. But healing mark, you're going to be hitting marked enemies, so heal there. So you got a lot of healing with Verso going on here. So that if he does get hit, you're going to get your health back pretty easy. Gain one shell. Yeah, there's the greater shell. You're getting shell on base attack, recovery, all the healing to be able to survive. Apply shell on applying rush, and there's like a rushing shots thing that's programming that. If you do die, survivor is going to bring you back to 1 health, and then all that healing, so if we can get you right back over there. If you do fall down low HP, get some shields. So that should, if you do get hit, it knocks off your shields. It should then immediately put them back on once per battle. If you do die, give all your allies shield. These are just good defensive just to add in so that for this final fight. Yeah, if you're in this strong build, nothing's going to beat you outside of Simon. So you know this is really these kind of things about defensive is really for the Simon fight. Because nothing else has ever survived me else when I want to go attack them. They die every boss dies in the first phase pretty much. Well, not every, but first few phases. I guess there was some stuff with other content that didn't die in the first phase, but it was still pretty easy. Support, a lot of stuff here. AP, gradient stuff, same thing. Dead energy, you know, he will be killing stuff. You want the dead energy there. I did not bother too much on those Sciel because she's not doing killing. Double marks, empowering attack, energizing attacks, energizing burn. Same things, you know, went over earlier. You want a lot of these. First strike, greater powerless, stay marked, clearly shielding. I really should know. Powerful shots, that's an important one. Marking shots. You know, get all these on. You know, do what you can with AP, but you want to be able to. These are really going to be generating gradients. It's going to be generating AP as much as possible, and by the time I get to Verso, like through all 3 of my characters, I have 3 gradient charges. So Energy Master, that was the vital one I hadn't got to yet from Maelle's. But you want Energy Master. I think I had that also on Sciel. I think she was like her mainly quit one is why I didn't see it on the list. But you know you want to get this one. You want to have that there because it's really pumping your AP generation. Yeah. All right. So to Maelle, obviously Medalum. If you did not get it early game, you got to go beat Golgra. If you want to nuke in the first phase, you got to have Medalum. You know, if you want to do it in literally the first turns before the boss ever gets a chance to fight. So you start in virtuous stance and, you know, do your nuke. So for her, we've got the same overall things. Like I said, I will be taking off Confident Fighter. I just have this currently on for now to do some Lumina farming, but that will come off. She does not, if you notice on Verso, I did not have all the critical chance stuff equipped because he's already 100%, but she's not. So I do have the critical stuff to give her critical chances against these. So she, with Verso applying the Defenceless on the boss, this should now push her from me to 100% to have critical vulnerability. Then there's also the burn. You know, like burning something that's also giving critical rate when critical burn. So, you know, it is overkill with having both defenseless and burn on there, but she should be at 100% crit for anything that's got burn or defenseless. In my farming, I'm not having Verso go first before her, so I don't always have I'm not going to have defenseless on there. So the burn is kind of my crit rate generator right now. That's why I want to try to get burn and mark. But having, you know, this with that, she's going to be guaranteed 100% at that point. But if you see with my specs, I did not max out everything. I kind of went with just enough to get her crit rate up a little bit, her defense maxed, her agility maxed, and then luck to get some critical rate, and then might for the rest. And I was really happy with that kind of balance there to get her crit rate into. I think I had her at 75%, but I've changed some stuff around now, or got some level ups on my pictos that got her a little bit more. But, you know, if you get her equipment wise or build wise to 75%, that's really what you want. And then just the build burn enough is going to be to push you to 100. If you really want to prepare for the final Simon fight, you could say, well, I know I'm going to have burn. I know I'm going to have defenseless. You don't need the luck. Put her at 50%. You're going to get the 50% from both burn and defenseless, and then have even more attack power. And honestly, I might do that for this fight, and I might be able to just like one tap the second phase because it can be some crazy damage. Because you do get, I think, another 1,000 attack power if you max out might. As you see, she is overall the heaviest hitter with attack power with that metal weapon. It is crazy. But so yeah, that's something to consider for her, is you getting that critical 100 to 100% to guarantee the biggest hit. Yeah, so critical vulnerability. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Full strength, you're going to want that one. First defensive, glass cannon, inverted affinity, so that you get another 50% damage. Immaculate, you know, these are the biggest ones for her damage. Is, you know, immaculate, inverted affinity, glass cannon, full strength, first defensive. I've got some of these last stands set up just because, you know, typically anything of those solo fights you're clearly going to be doing her. For group fights, obviously they're almost useless, but if everybody dies but her, you know, they'll kick in, and hopefully you can then do one more giant attack and beat it. Painted power. The powerful there is one. Okay, powerful shield is per shield point. So that's what I was thinking about. It was that get more damage when you have in media res. You do have more shields. That is more damage. So shield affinity plus powerful shield would make that more damage. And so honestly, I might try it within media res rather than base shield and see. And I probably might even leave base shield still on because that's per turn. It comes back. So if you lose your shields, it'll come back. But that can give you even more of that initial turn nuke, is to use in media res. You're going to sacrifice half your health, but you're now getting 30% damage from powerful shield instead of 10%. So basically extra 20% if you use in media res on top of base shield, or in place of base shield. But I'm going to have to see how it goes. I might sacrifice the in media res and not do that, but I might at least only do it for her and see how we go there. And maybe I'll keep the death bombs and stuff and revive stuff, so if she dies, oh well, let's get her back up real quick. Oh, we also should have that thing that auto revives, so might definitely do that. Because we also then have this stuff to survive 1 HP. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to do that. I think that's going to be enough to really do some big damage. Warming up, obviously. Teamwork. Roulette. I said this is what I'm gambling on. And maybe this is why I'm sometimes not killing anything. Let me turn that one off. I want to see. It's probably for farming. This is honestly probably hurting me. And I want to do it without it. Keep her damage consistent. So that's our offensive ones. Defensives, pretty much the same thing as Verso. Like I said, I probably might switch to, you know what, let me do that. Let's especially for this farming right now. Actually, I can keep base shield on. I just need 5 more points. Do I have something? There we go. Don't really care about the, especially for this. It's like this and Simon. Like I don't need sweet kill really. But yeah, survivor. So if she does die, she's gonna survive. And then it's the. Do I have that one that revives you if you die? Oh, he's got that one equipped. Okay. So yeah, I think nothing's really different versus Verso there. So I went intermediate res, and I probably should go ahead and do that for Verso too, and just try it, and just see if I can one phase it. And then support, I don't think there's much changed here either versus Verso. A little bit less focused on stuff for the free aims. She's never going to really free aim. Oh, there's one important part in here. I think it's under offensive. That's different on her that I did not do on Verso. What was it? That one, powered attack. So I do not do this on Verso because as he's free aiming, that's going to really use up the AP. However, on Maelle, Stendal is 8 points. You're going to have 9. Clearly, this goes with that. So do this on Maelle. Do not do that one on Verso. But this also means if you free aim shot with her, it's going to use 2. Now you can't do Stendal. So you really cannot safely free aim at all with her unless you put a bunch of those procs on and hope to proc an AP generator to get you back to 9. I've had a few scenarios myself where, I did not have burn. I really wanted burn or marks. That's right. I wanted a mark so I can then do Gustav's. And I just couldn't get it, and then I screwed myself. So unless you go a lot more points also into AP generation on free aims, not worth it for her to ever free aim with her. So don't worry about free aims. I might, I don't know if I still got anything equipped, but if I do, don't worry about it. I don't think I see really anything here. That's a bit here. Yeah, I'm probably gonna take some of these off because it never works for shots with her. But that's it. So that's the build. As you see, my points there on the right for her too. My abilities, I go with Meso for it, so that if you lose, the thing you need, or got Virtuous putting on AP, you use that. You got Cheater, then you get it your second turn. Phantom Strike for AoE. Clearly, Stendal, the biggest nuke. And then if you have the AP after a Stendal, you then follow it up with Gustav's to switch back to Virtuous. If you do not have the AP, you're probably guaranteed to have a Gradient Charge to do a Virtuous Strike instead. But Gustav's homage better than the Gradient attack. So use that if you got the AP. If you don't, use the Gradient. Get her back in Virtuous. So if anything does survive the first turn, she's now ready to do it in her next turn to do another Stendal. Just note this will remove her shields and give her defenseless herself, so she will be weak. So that's the biggest thing, is she is vulnerable after she does Stendal. But then, Verso. I've got Phantom Stars. I put a lot more support stuff just in case the situation comes up, but I almost am never using his stuff. And this is something interesting I haven't considered how to do yet, but this might be worth free aiming until you got a 2 and then use this, because you will be S rank so fast. But Endbringer is a main damage one if they're in a broken state, and then Phantom Stars otherwise. But I don't think Phantom Stars is worth it. Maybe it is, but I need to do some more comparisons. I kind of feel like the AP generation from just free aiming and just spam shooting is worth it. Unless you play gambling, do a few free aim shots on your turn, proc it, get it back to 9, then do your Phantom Stars. But that's 9 hits that, yeah, it might be worth doing that. Trying to just do a few shots and get it back. And if you don't ever get 9, then just fire your shots and base attack. So you're doing 3 additional base attacks, so it's 4 base attacks. You're still doing good damage if you don't do Phantom Stars, and you did for all free ends plus 4 base attacks. So really good. So, all right, I think that covers everything on that. And if you see my drip, I got all the white theme going on here. Everybody's got the pure outfits, and this is mono because it's a civilian. But yeah, everybody's 99. Just I'll quickly show their setups, but I'm not really using as much. I'm not really decided on her weapon, but hopefully I won't need her. And then, but him, I did like his weapon here, starting an Almighty Mask. And then I got that ability from one of the bosses there when I had him on. That was nice. That was a really nice ability there. But yep. So, oh yeah, and then you can see my Lumina points. Oh. Well, that actually just finished me up what I was looking to do. I got that 300 M, but Sciel I got her up to 500 and them at 840 currently. But has just enough Lumina to put them at the numbers I was looking for. So I will do a quick 2 fights just to kind of show the setup of how I use these characters now. And this is also where you farm Lumina. If you wasn't aware, you just farm these 2 bosses here. And, alright, so free aim. Got burn already. Got mark. Got really lucky there. But keep an eye on her AP. As you see, it keeps going up. You want to stop if you get to 6. But look, it keeps coming back. Alright, I got 6 and I got what I was looking for. Alright, so now we have mark and burn on all there. Do all set. You see everybody's AP went up. They proc stuff. If you did not get mark and burn in your first turn when you hit 6 AP, you then take this turn and keep going until you get to 5 AP. Once you get to 5 AP, you're then going to Fortune's Fury. You're clearly going to put Maelle. If you put Maelle, so that's another thing I'm going to go over, is your party order is based on the order they're added to the party. So take everybody out of the party but Sciel, add Maelle, add Verso, and then she's going to immediately always be on your left. So it's really nice when you're farming to have Maelle next, because most stuff will die from Maelle, so you don't even need Verso. But so having Sciel, Maelle, Verso for farming. And so whenever you open Fortune's Fury, it's immediately on her. You ain't got to like change character every single turn. And then you just go into Phantom Stars. And it one tapped. So normally I can even see that to hit 5.5 damage. So I'm actually not sure why it didn't trigger that. But you get the 2 Lumina per. Oh, I took Confident Fighter off. I think that might be why. At least did I? So in this one, you got 2 creations. Very vital to try to get it on both. So I got Mark already. I got Mark and Burn on that one. That was lucky. So I had to keep shooting because we need to get... Alright, so this is my point. I got 6 AP. Didn't get fire yet. Go ahead and do the all set. It brings you to 6. And so this is why I did not do energizing shot, or sorry, the protecting shots, because the shell, if you don't do protecting shots and you've never tried shell, you're guaranteed to at least get back to 6. However, you hit that, you triggered AP again because you shot a marked target, and then it's procced also more because of the fire. We got 9 AP. I'm just going to do it to get the blue mark back on. So now we have everything fire and blue mark. And you see, look at that gradient charge. We're almost already at a second one, and we're not even done with our first turn. And so now we do our Fortune's Fury. And then we do our gradient, or Phantom Stars. One tapped. I'm actually really... Why am I only getting 2.2? I was getting 5.5. Did I take confident off? No, I didn't. I'm actually not sure why. I didn't take anything off that would have lowered her damage. Maybe it's something to do with crits, but maybe. And I gotta get a crit on something. It's got to be something related to that. But I don't bother farming those guys. But just go back to the flag and reset, and that's pretty much it. So like I said, normally I hit 5.5. I think it's just something to do with crits, but because I also do 2.2. But I thought when you had fire and mark, it should have always been 5.5. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I didn't take anything off, but as you see, it still killed everything. Maybe the numbers are just weird. But I think that covers this video for setup. Hopefully that gives you everything you need. And like I said, you can just rinse and repeat this farm right here and get as much lumen as you can. But I strongly recommend doing the chromatic danseuse in Eau Lumiere, and do it for at least like an hour, 30 minutes. Hopefully restart your game before you do the fight, because the longer it's open, it had prone to crash. But if you do that fight for about 1 hour and 30 minutes, you should be over 2,000 lumina at the end of reward. And that's much more time efficient than doing this. However, this is good XP if you're not 99, but I was already 99 by the time I got here. But yep, that's what I recommend.